students, if you'll stand up for me, please. Make sure you're in your correct locations. Welcome to our final PowerPoint presentation for the Westward Expansion Unit. These third graders, soon to be fourth graders, have been working very hard on creating their slides that have to do with a topic with Westward Expansion. And so they have created a presentation for you. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Brianna, who's going to get us started.
Welcome to our presentation about Westward Expansion. We created this show using a computer program called PowerPoint. Each of us will be reading the screens that we researched and created. We hope you enjoy our show.
A is for arch. The arch is 630 feet tall and wide. There are 16 windows on each side of the arch. It took 5 years to build the arch.
B is for boomtowns. A boomtown is a community that experiences sudden and rapid growth. The growth normally starts by a nearby discovery like gold, silver, and oil. The California gold rush of the western U.S. is a famous example of boomtown creation. C is for covered wagons. Covered wagons were primarily used to transport goods. Small children, the elderly, and the sick and injured rode. The covered wagons are also known as the Ferris wheel.
D is for manifest destiny. It was widely held belief that Americans were destined to expand throughout the continent. Settlers wanted to spread the U.S. from sea to sea. It was used to justify the war with Mexico and divide half of Oregon with Great Britain.
E is for exodusters. Exodusters were African-American homesteaders who moved westward in the 19th century. To escape racism, exodusters left the South to settle in Kansas, Oklahoma, and Colorado, name given to slaves who moved en masse from the former Confederacy to Kansas.
F is for frontier life. After Frederick Jackson Turner's famous essay in 1893, the American history was deeply influenced by the life of the first American settlers in the frontier. Lots of the settlers were fur traders. The first gold that was found was by James Marshall. G is for golden spike. It is called the last spike. The first golden spike was made on May 10, 1869. The first golden spike was H is for horses. Horses were important to the Native Americans because it allowed them to travel vast distances in shorter periods of time. Horses allowed them to strike enemies and prey at a quicker pace. Horses were used to help build railroads, to haul mail, and on farms. I is for illnesses. Smallpox was a very deadly disease that killed many pioneers. Cholera was caused by unclean water and food and has no cure. Many pioneers died due to diseases like fever, cholera, and smallpox, and other diseases.
K is for Stephen Kearny. He was in command of the Army of the West at the beginning of the War of Mexico. He was born in 1794. He set out for California on September 25, 1846, with a force of 300 men.
L is for the Lewis and Clark Expedition. The expedition took place shortly after the Louisiana Purchase in 1803. It was commanded by Captain Meriwether Lewis and Lieutenant William Clark. The campaign's objective was to find a route leading to the Pacific Ocean. M is for the Mississippi River. No river has played a greater part in the development of America than the Mississippi. It stood in the path of many discoverers, challenging their families to cross it. A name for the Mississippi is the River of Dreams.
N is for Napoleon. James Monroe secured the Louisiana Purchase. The U.S. bought 15 states from Napoleon. Napoleon didn't take the U.S. seriously. O is for the Oregon Trail. The Oregon Trail is 2,000 miles, 32,000 kilometers. It goes through Kansas, Nebraska, Wyoming, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington. People ate a food called water hemlock. It looked like parsnips. The people thought it was. Some died when they ate it because it's poisonous. P is for prairie life. When I think transportation, I think cars, but they use wagons on the prairie. They look like boats. They usually use sod for their houses. They give farmers free land on the prairie.
Q is for John Quincy Adams. John Quincy Adams was the 6th President of the United States. John Quincy Adams was related to John Adams. He helped negotiate a treaty that set the borders of the Oregon Country.
R is for railroad. In 1862, the Pacific Railroad Act chartered the Central Pacific Railroad companies. Over the next 7 years, the two companies would race each other from California to Nebraska. The developing railroads provided the technology for much faster, safer, and cheaper transportation of immigrants and goods.
S is for St. Louis. Starting in the late 1600s, French explorers arrived. In 1803, the city and the region were sold to the United States. The city grew in population due to its location.
T is for travel. People used horse-drawn wagons, trail horses, and ox-drawn wagons to travel on the Oregon Trail. People had to travel through Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska, Wyoming, Idaho, and Oregon. Out of 400,000 travelers, 16,000 travelers died on the Oregon Trail.
V is for vaqueros. Vaqueros drove cattle from New Mexico to Mexico City. Vaquero is a Spanish word for a herder of cattle. Today, the vaquero is still part of the Domo Vaquero, the Spanish tradition of working and riding.
W is for Westward Expansion. In 1770, there were 250,000 colonists living in the American colonies. By 1775, this number had grown to 2.5 million. Many people wanted new land to farm and hunt.
X is for the Pony Express. The Pony Express was a mail service to deliver messages. The first rider was St. Joseph. The trail was 1,900 miles long.
Y is for York. York was Lewis and Clark's slave. York and William Clark were roughly the same age. He died in March of 1931 trying to get back into slavery. His first name was Ben.
Z is for Zebulon Pike. Zebulon Pike was an American Brigadier General and explorer for whom Pike's Peak was named. He was born January 5, 1779. He was born in Trenton, New Jersey. He died April 27, 1813 in the Battle of York. Zebulon M. Pike married Clarissa Harlow Brown in 1801. They had one child who survived to adulthood, a daughter.
And that concludes our Westward Expansion PowerPoint show. Let's give these challenge students. I want to thank the third grade classes for doing such a good job of sitting and listening. You guys did excellent, and parents and grandparents, we want to thank you guys for coming and visiting. And so, again, challenge students, if you have a parent or visitor here, you can come say hi to them now while the third grade classes are heading out. Thank you all for coming.